Okay, well, I'm here at Retrofret Guitars in Brooklyn, New York, and I'm holding a 1949 Bigsby electric guitar. This guitar was recently restored by Retrofret, and it is in fantastic condition now. It looks just like it was when it was finished in 1949. This guitar was found in Alaska in an attic, and a guy rescued it right before it hit the dumpster. It had the wrong pickups on it, it had a different pick guard, there was a big break in the headstock. If you looked at it before, you literally would think that it should have been thrown in the dumpster if you didn't know what a Bigsby electric guitar was. Luckily it got saved. A friend of the guy posted a picture on the internet. Somehow or another I tracked this guy down up in Alaska, and after several years of restoration, now it looks exactly like it did when Paul Bigsby made it. Bigsby guitars are very significant in the electric guitar world because Paul Bigsby was really the guy who made the first modern electric solid body guitar. He made that for 1948 for Merle Travis, who was a famous country western guitar player and entertainer. And it was Travis's idea to make a solid body electric guitar that was similar to a steel guitar or lap steel, and that it would have an aluminum nut, an aluminum bridge, and a solid piece of wood that went through it so that it sustained like a steel guitar. That wasn't particularly an innovative thing in 1948 because they had been making types of solid body electric guitars since the 30s, but they were little guitars that were basically lap steels with a round neck. There's even an example on the wall there of a Rickenbacker Spanish Bakelite steel. But Paul Bigsby was really the one who made the first modern solid body electric guitar that influenced Fender and Gibson Les Paul and all these instruments that came afterwards. And he only made approximately 23 electric guitars, somewhere around that number. So there's not very many of them, and they've almost all been accounted for at this stage in the game. There's only one double neck Bigsby guitar known to exist that hasn't turned up yet. All the rest of them, we know exactly where they are. One thing that's unusual about the earliest Bigsby guitars, again, this is sort of, it's such the primitive early stages of making a solid body electric guitar, is he made these violin tail pieces. I don't know why he made violin tail pieces other than these guitars really kind of have an old world quality about them. You know, when people ask me about Bigsby's versus Fenders, I always say, well, Bigsby was kind of like the last evolutionary step of the old world luthiers, and Leo Fender was kind of like the very first step of the new guitar makers. So this is definitely a throwback to, you know, I mean, it's very much like a violin tailpiece. This is the third electric Bigsby guitar ever made. It was made in early 1949 for Butterball Paige, who was the guitar player for Ernest Tubb and the Texas Troubadours. And this was the first two pickup Bigsby electric guitar. The two previous ones, the one that he made for Merle Travis in 1948 and the second one, just had one pickup here in this position. Both of those guitars had blade pickups where they just had one blade going across like you would put on a lap steel or a steel guitar. This guitar is the first one that he made that had individual pole pieces, but as you can see, it's significant because it still used covers that were cut for the steel guitar blade pickups. This guitar is also significant because it has this really oddly placed switch in here. And you would think, why in the world would anybody put a switch down there? It's right in the way when you want to hold it on your lap. You have to remember in 1949 when this guitar was made, the two pickup electric guitar was a fairly new thing. I mean, the earliest one that we've been able to figure out is a national electric guitar, had two pickups, no switch. Around the same time, 1948, 1949, Epiphone and Gibson were all making two pickup guitars, but they didn't have a switch. This is literally at the beginning of them thinking about, we've got 2 pickups on an electric guitar and we need to have a switch so that we can play both pickups at the same time. So Paul Bigsby's there making this thing in his workshop, and he's thinking to himself, well, we don't want to put the switch here, it'll get in their way. So he put it on the bottom side of the guitar so that the player wouldn't accidentally play it while he was playing. Maybe it seemed like a good idea to him, but if you hold this thing on your lap, you can tell it's just a horrible idea. So this is the only guitar that ever had a switch like that. After Butterball Paige on this guitar, it was owned by a player named Thumbs Carlisle, who was a really innovative player who played the guitar like this, which, again, the switch makes perfect sense if you're Thumbs Carlisle, because he played it sort of like a steel guitar. When this guitar was found, there was a hunk missing out of the side here. There was a giant crack in the body along here. This headstock was broken and fixed with epoxy, but you couldn't put strings on it. It would just start bending. It wouldn't hold string tension. It was just a mess. Luckily, the basic part of the body and the neck was all there, and no extra holes had ever been drilled, nothing had ever been routed out, which was sort of a minor miracle. So Guy Valek, who worked on this guitar, and Retrofret guitars, they really did an amazing job of looking at the picture of Paul Bigsby holding this instrument and copying every detail. And that's actually another significant thing about this guitar. This is the only guitar where there's a picture of Paul Bigsby holding a Bigsby electric guitar. When the guitar was first found in Alaska, there was this really poor quality picture that was posted on the internet, and I looked at it and I thought to myself, man, that looks like the Butterball Paige guitar, but I can't tell. Went and got the picture of Paul Bigsby holding this guitar, and I matched the bird's eye figure on the maple, which is sort of like a timber footprint. Each one is unique, these bird's eyes in the maple, and they matched up exactly, which gave me goosebumps. Like, holy cow, that's the guitar. That's the one Paul Bigsby's holding in that photo. So again, when this guitar was found, it didn't have any original Bigsby pickups on it. It had 1950s Rickenbacker pickups on it. And this pickup was found, it's an original Bigsby pickup. There's a guy named Keith Holter in Oregon, who, actually he's in Longview, Washington, just outside of Portland, who had an original Bigsby guitar that he bought new in 1952. And he was teaching lessons at a guitar store up there in rural Washington, and some kid walked in with a pair of Bigsby pickups and sold them to Keith, and Keith asked him, where did these pickups come from? And the kid said, they were on some guitar that was D'Angelico. And Keith said, wait, a D'Angelico? Yeah, that's it. Well, where'd the guitar go? Oh, I don't know, I just bought the pickups from the guy. So this pickup here is an original Bigsby pickup that apparently was on a D'Angelico archtop that was equipped with Bigsby pickups. So Keith sold me that pickup, and this pickup here is a reproduction pickup that was made by T.K. Smith, who is a modern luthier and guitar builder who's making some incredible Bigsby-inspired guitars. And visually, you can't tell the difference. And sonically, it's pretty amazing too. That's the original Bigsby pickup in the rhythm position. It's the two of them together. And that's the T.K. Smith pickup. Only the first couple of Bigsby electric guitars had a wooden pickguard like this one. And when we had this restored, I actually had 3 pickguards made on it, because as far as we can tell, during the history of this guitar, it had 3 pickguards on it. This is the way it looked when Paul Bigsby held the picture, just a plain wooden pickguard. Then there's also a pickguard that says, "Come in Butterball," which is what Ernest Tubb would say to Butterball Paige whenever he played a solo. And then there's also a later black plastic pickguard, which is what Thumbs Carlisle is pictured with when he owned the guitar. This guitar, like a lot of other Bigsby guitars, started out with a violin tailpiece, and then around 1952 or so, Thumbs Carlyle got one of the first Bigsby vibratos. So when this guitar was found, the original tailpiece had been chiseled off, and there was a Bigsby on there. It was a super early one. It said patent pending, so Thumbs Carlyle must have got one of the first Bigsby vibratos. Paul Bigsby wound up making his name with the Bigsby vibrato that you can still see today on lots of famous big name model guitars. So that's where he really focused his energy and where he made his money. So I'm pretty happy with how that turned out. I mean, that's about as good as you could possibly hope for.
One, two, three. Tag it.
Sweet.
Yeah.